Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Mac, and today we're taking a look at my 18 Nexus Point I did probably about 2 weeks ago at this point. We're going to do the same thing I did with my Alcathar Academy video a week or two back, and just kind of go through my general thought process here as we're watching it back, as well as talk about things I could have done better or how I'm thinking at any given point in time. This one started off a bit differently than I'm used to. Normally tanks like to pull that first room, but this one started to pull into this hallway and go into this next pack here. It's kind of a smaller pack because they didn't pull the left pack there. But the good news is we have Lust, and I can get out of this with my Thunderous Paws talent. So I'll slow it down here real quick just to showcase my thought process. And I actually did make a mistake here. So we'll go into this pull with Stormkeeper, go into Lust. I'll immediately hit Ascendance. And my first mistake here is instead of clicking Elemental Blast, I click Tempest here. And I think that was a side effect of thinking I did not have enough Maelstrom from that. So I click Ascendance, I get that weird jitter with the Maelstrom, thinking I don't have enough Maelstrom for that Elemental Blast, so I click Tempest instead. Realistically, I should have clicked Elemental Blast, but you never know how many overloads you're going to get and stuff like that. So I send my Tempest first. That gets me enough to get 4 Stormkeeper charges. I send an Earthquake, which is actually a mistake. I should have sent an Elemental Blast first, but I have those Stormkeeper charges. I can send into another Ele Blast once I get enough Maelstrom build up. I do that here. I have my Spirit Walker's Grace going so I can continue forward with the pull. I Chain Lightning, get a little bit of extra Maelstrom there, and then I just go into my basic builder spender here. Chain Lightning, Tempest, Earthquake as I need to, right? Once my Elemental Blast buffs fall off, I'll start casting another one like you see here, and that's pretty much all she wrote. The nice thing about this dungeon, well, the Paladin died, that's not nice, but the nice thing about this dungeon is Elemental Shaman has a lot to deal with the circles that go out on people. That thing right there you see on the monk. You can get it off of yourself by just going into Ghost Wolf with the Thunderous Paws talent, like I already mentioned, as well as you have your Windrush totem, because it's technically a snare because it slows you. So you can effectively remove it from pretty much your entire party when it goes out. I didn't need to do it here, but it's nice to know that you can do it here. But that was a pretty decent pull, not too bad, pretty clean, aside from the Paladin falling over. I think they must have stood in a swirly, but, you know, it happens, not a big deal. Same thing, Stormkeeper, I drop Elemental Blast. What did I do there? I Stormkeeper into Voltaic Blaze, which caps me at Maelstrom. I move, I cast a Nature Swiftness Elemental Blast. That's what I did. Okay, so Voltaic Blaze puts me at 150, Nature Swiftness Ele Blast into my Tempest, Earthquake, Chain Lightning spam. Pretty simplistic, honestly. I get aggro here, so you can see I do hit my Astral Shift in a second. You'll notice I see I take 1 melee, hit my Astral Shift because I don't like taking melees. But not a big deal. Tank gets aggro back pretty quickly, so I have to move and lose a little bit of uptime there, but just go back into my basic rotation. Let's skip ahead a little bit because this is pretty much the same thing as the last pull, just minus Lust and cooldowns. The one thing, aside from the circles that I talked about, on this side is these stupid little mana batteries. Now, the thing is with these is sometimes they drop out in Narnia, and if the tank does not drag them over to that Narnia mana battery, you just have to switch to single target because it sucks, but at the end of the day, those things are going to kill you. This is not good. Very sad news. So, unfortunately, an Elemental Shaman that doesn't want to send their cooldowns on a dying pack doesn't really have the best single target damage here because we're pretty much just building spending on it. So, luckily, the Demon Hunter does swap over. The Ret Paladin, however, does not until it's about 40%. So, luckily, that falls. But unfortunate, I did lose a lot of DPS here because I had to swap to those stupid mana batteries. And I see one over there, I did not notice it myself, so that's my own fault. The Paladin and Demon Hunter on it, so I guess I'm getting a bit of uptime there. I should shift into Ghost Wolf, lose that, yeah, perfect. So that was a mistake I made, is I did not notice this second little one over here. And I'm just Chain Lightninging into these guys. So good thing the Paladin and the Demon Hunter are working on that because I did not pay attention to it. But the tank should have honestly brought them over to that because ultimately, like, there's no reason they can't be over there, right? These guys, I don't know why he's coming towards me. He should have been going this way. At the end of the day, didn't wipe. Not a huge deal. No biggie. It's just, you know, small little things you can notice about it. All right, next pack. Let's go. Same thing, I have my cooldowns for this, which works out really nicely. And actually, this is a video, I noticed this in another video I used this footage for. I make a mistake here, which is a pretty decent sized mistake, and I want to call it out because, you know, I'm not perfect, no one's perfect, and it's good to admit when you make mistakes, and this is the reason why it's super important if you have something like Warcraft Recorder to go back and re-watch your VODs so you can see where you're making mistakes. But we can see I rip my Stormkeeper here, I move over with my Windrush Totem, and then I'm just going to go right into Ascendance, and this was my mistake, right? And I'll slow it down a little bit. I rip my Ascendance, I pretty much cap on Maelstrom, but I'm able to Nature Swiftness Eleblast instantaneously. And now I'm in a situation where I have to do the right rotation. If you watch my last video about Ascendance cooldown window, where you have to use this very specific rotation of spend your Maelstrom first, then you cast your Tempest, you then cast your Eleblast if you can, and then you build back with Chain Lightning, right? You want to make sure you never overcap on Maelstrom, Tempests, or Stormkeeper charges. In this scenario, I'm okay, but I make a mistake, and I want to talk about it, because you can see I currently have 2 Stormkeeper charges, and I have 2 Tempest charges and 3 Stormkeeper charges. Now, I sent my Eleblast, so I have my Eleblast coming out. I've got my buffs here rolling. I'll start casting a Tempest here, which is fine. You should cast a Tempest here, but instead of sending this next Stormkeeper charge like I should have, I immediately start recasting a second Tempest, which is not good because that means I'm going to, instead of having 4 Stormkeeper charges, try to go to 5, but 5 doesn't exist, so that's a big waste of damage. So, minor mistake. It's the smallest mistake I can make, but it's worth talking about, right? Because you need to see that people make mistakes. But I cast Tempest again. I overcap on Stormkeeper charges. Unfortunately, I had plenty of Maelstrom room to do it because I just cast Eleblast. I could have Tempest, Stormkeeper, Tempest. Or I could have Tempest, Chain Lightning Tempest to break that charge. But unfortunately, I didn't here, so I overcap on the charges. But that's what it is. So mistakes happen. It is what it is. Not a huge deal. I try to spread my Tempest as best I can, but honestly, so many Earthquakes are going out, it really doesn't necessarily matter. You need to make sure you're interrupting that unstable explosion, whatever the hell it's called. And you'll notice, actually, look, as soon as those circles go out, since I put my Windrush Totem down, it'll instantly be dispelled on these people. Ready? Boom, instant dispelled because of my Windrush Totem. It is so good here. So if you don't have that talent that removes snares from Windrush in this dungeon, you need to do it, especially with Thundering Paws and stuff, so you can pretty much make it so you're never going to have that on you for any extended amount of time. And unfortunately, more batteries. I hate these batteries. They suck. Terrible part of the dungeon. But anyways, go into this pack full Maelstrom. I'll rip my Voltaic Blaze probably. Go into an Eleblast, Stormkeeper, and full Maelstrom. Now, this is something you can't really plan for. Another mistake here, which honestly, I don't know how much of a mistake it is because I guess I could have really preemptively been casting Earthquake, but honestly, you know, you're just guessing at this point because I get an Aftershock proc here. We'll go ahead a little bit slower. I'll cast my Stormkeeper after my Voltaic Blaze. I'll then go ahead, cast my Eleblast. I will get an Aftershock proc, but I'm going to instantly cast that Chain Lightning before I realize I get that Aftershock proc. So realistically, what I should have done here is I should have cast Elemental Blast into an Earthquake because I have enough Maelstrom to make that work, right? 140 Maelstrom, I think Eleblast is 80, I think Earthquake is 55. So I have enough Maelstrom to do both here, but instead of just instantly casting an Earthquake after the fact, I cast a Stormkeeper, which is a mistake. I overcapped on Maelstrom again. So a lot of mistakes here so far that I'm noticing. I'll go ahead, Tempest, cast my Earthquake, or Eleblast. This isn't actually, it's 3 targets. It's not a mistake. I should be Eleblasting. Not a big deal. But yeah, that's another mistake I made. But I'm still doing decent damage, right? So you can make these mistakes and still do pretty good damage. It's just entirely, you know, you're trying to min-max as much as you can when you're in the higher keys, obviously. And this isn't even like a super high key on it. I'm struggling with 19s if I'm being honest, but there's people doing crazy keys. But yeah, that's that pull. Worth mentioning the mistakes. Into this boss. This boss, there's not much to really talk about. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I'll just speed this up at 2 times. The one thing that I hate about this boss as the range is you can see what happened just there, right? All of those stupid little orbs targeted me. So here we go. I'll go ahead, cast 3 swirlies. Start casting 3 swirlies. Start casting 3 swirlies. I hate this boss because of that shit. It's just so annoying because it always happens. I don't necessarily know if it's supposed to happen that way, or if it always targets one person, or the 3 in a row does, but that happened to me like 3 or 4 or 5 times on this boss. It was just so frustrating. But this boss is pretty simple. It's just pretty much a tank and spank. Break the tethers when they come out, and then just don't get hit by the swirlies. We almost died there, but the healer was able to keep us up, luckily. And really, that's pretty much this entire boss. I get caught out here a little bit, but not a huge deal, and the boss falls over. Okay, let's step to the next part of the dungeon. I'll keep this at about 1.5. Same kind of pull we did at the last one. This one doesn't have lust, though, so we're not going to do as big of a pull, and I don't have CDs, but same concepts apply. This one, I really want to be getting rid of... Oh my god, he does pull both of them. Okay, so this is pretty much a bigger pull than the lust pull we did here, and I don't have CDs, so this is going to be a little tricky, but someone hopefully has CDs here. So I Stormkeeper charge into a Voltaic Blaze, and then I get a lucky Elemental Blast Tempest proc. So let's see what goes on here. The big danger here really just comes down to the smudges going into these little dread flails, or the little like voidlings running out in the 3 triangle pattern that these guys do, because they're kind of hard to see with purple over purple. But as long as you're paying attention, you shouldn't really worry about that, because it's not hard to see. Tempest, Ellie Blast, spend my Stormkeepers, interrupts. I missed that interrupt, but luckily as a shaman, look at this. You can actually dispel curses. So lucky for me, I can dispel myself, bada bing, and don't even have to worry about that. So not a big deal. But this is what I was talking about. These this little like void aberration thing. Just don't get hit by those, because those will pretty much just one-shot kill you. It looks like the Demon Hunter did have his meta, so lucky for us. And aside from that, this pull's pretty simple. Just interrupt and do what you can here. He interrupted, I overlapped my interrupt, it looks like. Make sure the smudges don't touch those guys. I get over here just in case I need to thunderstorm them to knock them back. And that's all she wrote. That was a bigger pull without lust, but we did it. Okay, next pull, I do have my cooldowns. Let's see, does he pull bigger? I think he does, which is good. So I Elemental Blast to dump my Maelstrom here. Now this is something I talked about. I got a comment about this on my Ascendance window video. Do you want to go into your Ascendance window with Tempest? And the answer is almost never. Because if you're doing the proper rotation of setting up your Stormkeeper prior to going into your Ascendance, you're almost always guaranteed to overcap on something if you have a Tempest going into your Ascendance window. Unless you have effectively 0 Maelstrom going into it, then it's different. But you can see here, I go into this, I have a 143 Maelstrom, I Ellie Blast to Greed for that 3rd buff, which I do get. I have 60 Maelstrom going into this, and I have a Tempest going into it as well. Which means I'm going to have instant 2 Tempest charges and instant 3 Stormkeeper charges. Not... What was that? I don't know if you heard that. Instant 2 Tempest charges and instant 3 Stormkeeper charges. Which means I'm going to have effectively 5 Stormkeeper charges over the course of my Ascendance window. But given that I'm at 63 Maelstrom, that is a terrible 63, right? As soon as I hit Ascendance, I'm going to hit like 140 Maelstrom. We'll just do a quick little, see where we're at. 120, instantly up to 140. Okay? I do send an instant Tempest with a Nature's Swiftness, which gets me to 140. Now, at this point, I have to send an Earthquake, and oddly, I have to hope I don't get a Tempest proc. Or an Aftershock proc, rather, because if I do, I'm guaranteed capping on something. So I send an Earthquake, which works great. But I'm again making the same mistake I made sending a Tempest when I have 4 charges of Stormkeeper. Ideally, what I should have done here is honestly probably send another Earthquake, because that would put out more lightning rods on these targets, and that would be more damage overall. And then if I get a Tempest proc, it doesn't matter, because I'll be at like 40 Maelstrom. I can send all 4 of these, or 2 of them, and then just Tempest back to back. But again, I make the same mistake I made by Tempesting again. Now I can unfortunately get an overcap on Stormkeeper charges, but then I eventually send my Stormkeeper, get another Tempest proc, send it, Ele Blast or Earthquake, Stormkeeper, Tempest again, Stormkeeper, dispel myself, bada bing, repeat the whole process. So again, I make mistakes on this pull, which sucks, but it's really good that I'm watching this back because I can see where I'm making those mistakes, right? One of the biggest issues or concerns people have with that I noticed in the comment section of my last video about Ascendant's window specific rotation, right, is this exact thing happening. Because the Ascendant's window is so fast. You are flooded with at least like 70, 80 Maelstrom if you're an AoE. You get instant Tempest proc. You have 3 Stormkeeper charges in the chamber ready to go, and everything is just like, you just hit NOS. You hit Nitro on your entire spec, right? And this is a good example of what happens when you're not fully invested or fully focused on that, right? Because you make mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. Luckily for me, it doesn't hurt my damage too much, but honestly, for a cooldown window, Ascendance without being top of the damage meters is pretty not good. It should probably jump up a little bit here, but honestly, that's very bad for an Ascendance window, in my opinion. Granted, it is a, slow pull. Like, we did just do this pack, and I don't think we actually let the DPS meter reset, so I'm still going into this pack at 80 DPS, which is why my DPS looks really bad here. So I guess going from 80k to 150k with one Ascendance window is pretty good in that overall scheme of things. But you can see this is the overall damage here, where I am lagging just ever so slightly behind these classes. You also have to consider, though, Ret Paladin does gain a lot from your Wind Fury, so don't be too bad if you're losing to a Ret Paladin, because honestly, with their Crusader Strikes, they're getting a lot of excess damage just from your buff alone, just from you being there, really. But ultimately, honestly, great damage in this boss, in this dungeon so far. Next up, same thing, go into this with Stormkeeper, bada bing, interrupts and dispels. I don't think anything interesting really happens here. Pretty much just go about the normal thing, keep dispelling myself. I don't dispel myself here because it's just 1. I figure the healer can deal with that. Same thing. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to the boss now. I think this is pretty much... I send my Ascendants over here. Did I make the same mistake? This is worth talking about. Alright, so I send Ele Blast. I'm full Maelstrom, full Ele Blast buffs. Go into it again with a Tempest. I'm guaranteed overcapping Maelstrom here, almost. Maelstrom's maxed, sending a Tempest. I should be Earthquaking. I don't Earthquake. Man, I made that mistake a lot in this dungeon. I overcapped on Stormkeeper and I overcapped on Maelstrom. This is the terrible dungeon for me. Interesting. Oh, I gotta go back to drawing boards here. But anyways, there you go. I'm human. Everyone's human, guys. People make mistakes. Alright, let's skip ahead to the boss. Yeah, garbage. Trash. Now, this boss is the fun boss because you get to have your Ascendance window for the damage amp, which is a blast. Luckily for me, I can send it on this first trash package. Should still have it up for that damage amp. So not a big deal here. I sent an Earthquake on that mob, so that's a mistake for me because it was a one-off. I have aggro for some reason, but no biggie. Let's skip ahead to the boss. This boss, oh wow, more trash. Pretty simple boss. It's kind of scary when you're doing in the damage amp because yeah, you're doing crazy good damage, but you're taking a lot of damage. So you need to make sure you should have your Astral Shift for this because it's going to screw you up if you don't. And honestly, I think I actually might leave the damage amp early because I'm getting so hurt by it. But I have my Ascendants. I'm holding it for that damage amp. And this boss is very simple. Interrupt the ads, kill the ads, lust the damage amp, and you're good. It's hyper important in this dungeon, in Algathar Academy. Bosses that have damage amps like this, you need to have your damage cooldowns for it. Because if you don't, these bosses are going to take so much longer, or you're not going to live. If you don't cool down the damage amp on Kroth and Algathar Academy, your healer's never going to make that healing check because that boss is going to live for way too long. If you don't cooldown window this guy on the damage amp, you're just going to be here for a long, long time that you don't necessarily need to be. You want to try to 1 or ideally 2 cycle this guy or as best you can. So we have Lust for this. Scars coming out. I preemptively Lust. I'll rip my Stormkeeper here, and I hit my Astral Shift. I make a huge mistake here. I am 100% Maelstrom. I am full in there. I should have cast Deadly Blast, but all I'm thinking right now is I need to get into this damage amp as quickly as possible. So this is a massive screw up. But it doesn't necessarily really matter all that much because this damage amp is absolutely bonkers. And actually, let's just take a look. At this damage amp at the start, I'm at 35k single target, okay? Let's just see where this gets to at the end of the damage amp. This is a 15-second damage amp. I hit Astral Shift. It's going to be out before this damage amp occurs or ends. But you can see my Astral Shift runs out. I lose. I'm starting to take a lot of damage here. But at the end of the damage amp, I'm at 366 single target damage. That's why that cooldown window is so important to have during that, because I literally 10 times my single target output in one rotation thanks to that cooldown window. So, very important. Make sure you have your cooldowns for any damage amps on any boss. Not only does it's super important to live and complete the dungeon, it feels damn good. Even if you screw up like I did there. But that's this boss pretty much. I think we get another damage amp phase here. This one's a little bit more risky for me because I don't have a CD or a defensive for this. I have my Earth Elemental. I don't think it's up. No, I don't. So I literally have nothing. This is all pure healer check to make sure I live on this. And you can see my damage dropped to 250 but after that damage amp. But, yeah, see, I'm taking a shnikey ton of damage here. But the healer's doing a very good job of keeping us up. I run out of it to give the healer a second to breathe. And the Paladin actually ended up catching up in the end because I was more worried about living, which is also super important to consider. But kill that boss, no big deal. All right, next up. Skip ahead to this, the console, blah, blah, blah. I love RP in my Mythic Plus dungeons. And then we have this trash. We pretty much just CD on this guy, prio target one of the casters as best we can, and go through this whole thing. No real issue, right? This next pack's up here. I think this was before they fixed they changed how this guy works, where he would just dash and just nuke someone. But yeah, these light rots absolutely nuke with those holy bolts or whatever the heck they're called. So make sure you interrupt these guys as often as you can, because that dot that those place on you is freaking painful. And you can see the tank pulls the next pack so we have more to cleave off of and paralyzes that light rot so we don't have to deal with another interrupt. Because they're just so dang painful. But that's it. We interrupt, bada bing, bada boom. And that's it. We kill this lingering image, and he's still up when the boss spawns. So the boss should be dropping, I think, any minute now. And we pull it into this light rod. So we just pretty much make sure he's being interrupted on cooldown and hit the boss. And that's pretty much the dungeon. I think I almost die here. What did I get hit by? A holy bolt? Yeah, there's a holy bolt. Nope, that was interrupted. What am I targeted by? Blistering smite. Oh, so this image is smiting me? Oh, that's not supposed to be good. That's a no-do. But all right, lucky me. I get a monk bubble, so I survive. And that's pretty much the dungeon. Really, the difficult part on this boss is just making sure you interrupt the right guy. What was that Gary's Mod looking thing? Oh, that wasn't the boss. That was just a lingering image. Oh, oops. Look at that. He T-poses. Look at that. Nice. But yeah, this boss, super simple. Don't get hit by the frontal. Spread out for those and interrupt the right ads. Honestly, there's not much interesting things that happen here. That's it. You have a defensive, you should probably rip it out here because this is where the pulsing damage is going out. I'm looking for the guy, I can't find it. Thank God someone else found it. And that's the boss. So really, I don't think... No, we're all live. Nothing bad happens. And we kill this with 3 minutes left in the dungeon. So, really good group. Honestly, fantastic group that we had. And super clean. Like I said, first hallway, you can get rid of those circles on you with Thunderous Paws. You can get rid of it with your Windrush Totem with the right talents. Second hallway, you can dispel that curse on you. Always have your CDs up for that damage amp on that second boss. And interrupt those Holy Bolts. That's pretty much the most important things in this dungeon. And aside from that, that's Nexus Point Xenas. Yeah, if you like this video, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm not super sure about this format. It's very ad-lib. It's not scripted. I just watch it back and let you know my thoughts as I'm going through it. So if you liked it, let me know. If you didn't like it, also let me know, because I want to really take the feedback and, make the best videos I can. So that's all I got for today. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you're interested in coaching, I have it all linked in the description below. We do Elemental coaching for Mythic Plus specifically. We do touch on Raid a bit, as well as just general Mythic Plus content. And I think that's all I got. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I will see you in the next one.